Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the Inside Spurs channel. Happy Friday afternoon. I think you're near enough done in terms of work, and if by the time you see us, you probably are done with work. So look, you've worked hard. Enjoy your weekend this weekend. And yeah, we've got some really good reports around on the players out on loan. So we're talking about a few of those guys. There wasn't a ton playing this week. Obviously, there's a bit of a weird winter break going on. So it's not as big as it normally is all I'll say. But we are going to be bulking it out with quite a damning report on Conor Gallagher and a potential move to Spurs. But I do want to kind of talk about that whole central midfield area and what Spurs are looking at. So just want to say, if you're new, subscribe. You're very much welcome to join us for the journey. And let's talk a little bit about the boys out on loan. And I want to start with the guy who probably had the best performance of the weekend, Ashley Phillips at Plymouth. They drew 1-1 away to Huddersfield, which this was his debut, by the way. He played in back three as the right centre-back. And look, Plymouth under a new manager. Obviously, this is a manager that's had him and Alfie Devine in the England setup of like the under-18s and under-19s and all that jazz. This was a guy, Ashley Phillips, sorry, this was a player that they were desperate to get at a ball at Plymouth. And look, Plymouth aren't having the strongest of seasons in the Championship, we know that. But if you throw in Ashley Phillips and you throw in Alfie Devine, they're going to be a much better team for it. They've lost a few players, but they've regained a few players. So they'll be better for those two coming in. And he was fantastic, Ashley Phillips. I think he was man of the match as well. It was Alan McInally on Sky Sports News, or Jet Soccer Saturday, sorry. And he said that look out for Ashley Phillips. He's going to be an absolute star. And that's always really nice to hear. On his debut in a new club, away from home, Plymouth to Huddersfield is a bit of a journey as well, obviously. And he played as well as he did. So that was really good to see. And obviously, look, he's going to get me 90 minutes quite often now. Same with Alfie Devine. It's invaluable development that those two boys are going to get down at Plymouth. And I think, speaking for a lot of Spurs fans, quite a few of us are Plymouth fans now, because we're going to be watching Plymouth and looking at the stats, looking at the two guys, how they're doing, because there's a reason. Let's talk a little bit about Joe Rodon, the man who's having the best loan deal so far. And it continued on. It was a 3-0 win away to Cardiff. He started. He was fantastic. When I look at the stats, it's normally out of 5, the rating, and he's at 4.5, so he's pretty much had like an 8 out of 10 performance. He's having a belter of a loan deal. Really is, there is a player there. That's the thing I've always said about certain players, that they might not be good enough like a top 6 or a Champions League, chasing club. But if you were to say he's going to go into a team that's 12th, 13th, he'll be very good. And that's the same thing I think with Joe Rodon. Joe Rodon's a Premier League player, in my opinion. He's just not a top 6 player. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I wish I was a Premier League player. I wish I was a Premier League player for a team that just kept coming up and down. I wish I was. But yeah, again, had another really, really good loan performance. And a guy who, his value has only increased since being at Leeds and playing as much as he has. Speaking a little bit around Troy Parrott. Troy Parrott played a couple of times for Excelsior Rotterdam over the last few days. He played, I think, 90 minutes against PSV and lost 3-1. He did play recently, but he only played sort of 18, 19 minutes, something like that. I can't remember who it was against. He's having a solid loan deal. He really is. He's not sitting at a club that is top of the Eredivisie. They're not the best club in Holland. But he's having a solid loan deal and he's getting really good minutes. And it's always really nice that if a player does go abroad, that it does go well. He started off the season playing a lot of football. It dipped, wasn't playing a lot, and it picked back up, and now he's playing a lot more again. And he's scored a fair amount of goals. He's had a good amount of assists. He's had a good amount of goal contributions. I think he's a guy that everyone looks at Spurs and goes, he must be like 24 now. He's still in his early 20s. Everyone goes, feels like he's been around for a decade. It does, genuinely, He's only a few years older than Dane Scarlett, and we look at Dane Scarlett like he's a child. So, yeah. Ndombele, Galatasaray. I'd say the last few weeks have been better than it was for the first half of the season. I think that's fair to say. Only played 27 minutes in their 4-1 win. I think it was yesterday. I think it was. I think Davinson Sanchez only played about 20-odd minutes. So there you go. Not even on a loan report that I miss. I won't be missing out on Davinson Sanchez. There you go. all in all, it's not been a brilliant loan spell for Tanguy, but it has gotten better, and that's something we have to hold on to. And you know, you've got to hope that he wants to succeed. Yeah, in terms of the rest of the guys, you know, look, Jed Spence hasn't had time to play for Genoa yet, so he hasn't played. Reguilon's obviously just moved to Brentford. Tanganga's just gone to Millwall. So you'll see these loan reports will start to be 10, 12, 15 minutes long. You know, we speak of those guys, you know, there's a whole long list that I've got on my notes pad, my notes app on my iPad. You know, when we look at the guys, we've got Jed Spence at Genoa, Joe Rodon at Leeds, Troy Parrott at Excelsior Rotterdam, Reguilon at Brentford, Ndombele Galatasaray, Alfie Devine and Ashley Phillips at Plymouth, Tanganga at Millwall, Matthew Craig at Doncaster, and Josh Keeley at Barnet, who he did play, I can't exactly, he was away from home, but they did 1-2-1, and he's having a good solid start to a time as Brent at Barnet. So all in all, really good report, you know, some good things coming out of this week, some things that, I think it's just a bit of a slow week, because it's just a weird time of the season. I think in the next couple of weeks, you'll start to see a lot more coming out of this. And hopefully we get players playing week in, week out football, either to come back to Spurs and add quality to the group, or to then get sold and to cash in and reinvest. Let's talk about potentially buying a player. And this is Conor Gallagher. And look, we know Conor Gallagher is the #1 midfielder option that Spurs are looking at. And it came from Football Insider for Peter O'Rourke, who said that Tottenham's January move for Conor Gallagher has collapsed following new talks. Chelsea now want to keep the England international for the remainder of the season, despite recent negotiations of the clubs. So we know Chelsea want to move off of homegrown players, or academy players, sorry, because it's going to count 100% towards FFP, and they don't want to be at risk of breaking the rules, okay? So that's why they want to sell Armand Broja, who they want supposedly 50 million for. Wouldn't even give you 10, so don't know what they're getting 50 million for him for. But on Conor Gallagher, now, yes, we may not be looking at Conor Gallagher. We may never look at Conor Gallagher again. But the fact that it is January 19th, we still have, you know, a week and a half to kind of impact this window in terms of midfielder. And I still think Spurs want to, and we know that Højbjerg's market should heat up towards the end of this month, with teams thinking they can get Spurs in a pinch to kind of say, yeah, we'll take him on loan with an option to buy for 10 million. And Spurs going, he'll play here. We don't need to sell him. And then Napoli and other teams going, 12 million option? You know, so we're not going to be forced to sell Højbjerg on the cheap. We'll keep him to the summer. There's no issues with that. But if we were to move on from Højbjerg, they are supposedly, Spurs, by the way, supposedly looking at a homegrown option in the midfield, which I get. You moved on from Dyer, you moved on from Kane, you brought in Maddison, you moved off, technically, Winks, you could call it. There are other players in that list that we have lost, and you know we have to be wary of our homegrown situation, because if you look at the team, you've got an Italian goalkeeper, Italian left back, a Dutch centre back, an Argentinian centre back, a Spanish right back, a Mali centre defensive midfielder, a Senegalese central midfielder. Then you've got Maddison, who's the English guy. Then you've got Swedish right wing at Kulusevski, left wing South Korea, striker Brazilian. So you're starting to see there's a real lack of English or homegrown players in there. That's why they're looking at a Lloyd Kelly at centre-back, because it gives them that option. That's why, you know, Ben Davies is still kind of plugging away in the background. That's why Session is still a part of the setup. That's why they're looking at Hayden Hackney out at Borough. They're looking at players like that to come into the midfield situation that they can spend time to develop and improve, which I totally get. And you would be able to fund that move easily through Højbjerg, which I can kind of see working. Maybe at the end of the month, because if you go, look, we get through City. Yes, we've got Brentford, but we think we've got enough to get by Brentford without, you know, having to, you know, keep Højbjerg until the end of the season. And I can see that working, to be fair. Yes, by the way, I know we've got Skip. You're probably sitting there going, we've got Skip in the midfield. I'm talking about the strongest 11. And you might change a player here or there, but you're not really bringing in anyone English, are you? Be honest. The midfield you might bring in Bentancur as Uruguayan. You know. So anyway, guys, that's the end of the video. Hope you did enjoy it. Drop a like on the video if you did. Hit me in the comments section below your thoughts and feelings about the boys out on loan. Want to know all your thoughts and feelings, as well as the Conor Gallagher situation. Hackney might be the boy. Want to know your thoughts and feelings about that as well. Subscribe if you're new and hit the bell notification for more. But anyway, guys, that's the end of the video, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care, guys.